And we are live today with Brendan Gilbert. We are so excited to have him on the SEO Leadership webinar. Thank you so much. Brendan is the co-founder of 1225, and he aims to help businesses drive revenue through audience-first organic search and growth. He is also the co-host of the Building podcast, which is coming very soon with the season 2. So we're very excited for that. So Brendan, thank you so much for coming on the webinar today. We're excited to chat a little bit about thought leadership, team management, and all the fun things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Definitely. So, Brendan, we just want to kick things off with a question revolving around communication and team communication. How important do you consider it within your own agency, and how do you consider it important, especially cross-departmentally as well? And yeah, do you have any tips for maybe SEO leaders in terms of enhancing their communication within their teams?
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll start big, shall we? Yeah. Communication's vital for any agency, for any business, really, and for kind of the juniors coming in. I would always give one tip about communication, and this is driven from my co-founder Harry, because he drives it as well. Over communicate. Literally just over communicate, talk about anything and everything, and if it's too much, people will tell you, because lots of people, the mindset is often, I don't want to bother people, they'll be busy, and they won't communicate, and that's worse than just over communicating, sharing things as well. So yeah, that's a real simple tip for anyone. Just over communicate to a point of people tell you to calm down a bit. But in terms of communication as well, vital.
Definitely. And how at 1225, how is your team set up, and how do you sort of ensure communication throughout the week? Do you do like daily huddles, or do you do weekly sort of move the business forwards? How do you sort of exercise communication within your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So 1225 is obviously in the startup kind of growth phase at the minute. We're less than a year old. So there's 2 of us. We've got a third member joining the team next week, which we're really excited about. But throughout the process, it's relied on communication massively. So myself and Harry, my co-founder, we'll have something called daily commitments. So in the morning, before we start, we'll basically have a quick conversation. What are the top commitments that we will commit to doing that day? It can be just 2 or 3 things, can be quite small or quite big. And we'll also catch up at the end of the day about our commitments. Have we got them done? And if not, why didn't we get them done? What were the blockers? How can we help? And it's just constant communication. Be that for startup agencies, kind of having the luxury of an office space is a bit of an extravagant spend, but we believe firmly in kind of face-to-face collaboration, and kind of it aids communication that way. So yeah, we've invested in office, so we're in the office at least 3 times a week at this stage, so we can communicate there. But Slack, I bug Harry all the time. I just pick up my phone and give him a call, and that's something I'd say to when I think about junior kind of SEOs and the what you said we're discussing, like I find at times junior SEOs are scared to pick up a phone. They won't pick up a phone to a client and ask them a quick question. Do it. Learn to get good on the phone and like be comfortable. I say that having been the most uncomfortable person picking up a phone and talking to people, but once you get used to it, it's just so much quicker, and it gets you the ability to do your work so much quicker.
Definitely. And how did you sort of handle that coming in one day, obviously making the move into 1225, and you come in and it's just you and Harry, there's no team, there's no sort of people to directly manage. How do you sort of handle that transition?
It was very strange, to be fair. Like my inbox went from 100, 200 emails a day to like 5 or 6. It's like, this is strange. I feel like something's wrong. So getting used to that quiet patch in terms of communication from other people was strange, but also there was so much to do with starting up an agency that we just had to kind of knuckle down, get on with it. And 1 minute it's sales, next minute it's marketing, next minute it's it could be the website, or obviously client delivery as well. So communication and getting those questions and knowing where the information that we're building, because obviously building an agency, we've got to set up all of the processes and all of that. And key part of communication is obviously the written communication and our processes there. So it's working out the best ways to write all of what we're doing down. So we've got a kind of almost user manual for people coming into the business, because that for people coming in, like I mentioned to you guys, we've hired someone to join the team from next week as our SEO lead as well. And we want them to have as much of the resource and communication as possible. So having that written down for them as well, they can come in when we're, on client calls and stuff, they might have the answer there already. So that's why we do that.
Brilliant. And I know you brought in the SEO lead, as you mentioned there. What was the thought process behind the hiring, going from top down rather than bringing in maybe a junior that you two could obviously mold the way you want it? What was the sort of the reasoning behind that?
A multitude of different reasons. Obviously, we have to prioritize client delivery. Clients are the guys that pay your mortgage at the end of the day, so they get full priority. But because we're prioritizing client delivery at times, we might not have the opportunity or the scope to do the marketing bits. Things like, speaking to you guys on this webinar, might not have the time to do that. So having someone come in and, you can almost hand off or collaborate with them on client delivery opens us up to be able to do this stuff more. We've got a successful podcast. It's currently paused before season 2, but we've also found, as we've got busier since the start of January, it's difficult to get back into that frame of mind of the podcast because we're so focused on client delivery. So again, having that hire to let them come in, and also ideas are currency. So kind of more senior hires have that ability to share ideas sometimes more willingly than a more junior member of staff. And also we wanted to have an environment that sets people up for success. So we thought, go senior first, and then they can help and be given the time to support more junior hires to make them more successful in future. Because as me and Harry become busier and busier with different aspects of the agency, we won't necessarily have the time to give that one-on-one support that a junior hire would need.
Brilliant.
Just to actually build off of that, going senior, you could maybe attribute some of the points to this SEO lead that you're bringing in on Monday. But what were some primary aspects that you were looking for in this SEO lead and within the role, especially considering that TwelveTwentyFive is going through that growth phase right now?
Really good question. And I think it applies to anyone that would look to bring into the business. Me and my co-founder Harry, we're aligned in terms of we focus in on people's kind of softer skills when hiring people. We want people to have that kind of high energy. We call it, 10Xers as well. We want to bring 10Xers into the business. But I think it comes down to high energy. And when it comes to, interviews as well, it's not necessarily asking them about SEO and what they know about SEO, because you can almost see that from their CV and the way they talk about them on their CV. I use interviews to kind of explore more their softer skills, like ask them questions about what they're passionate about. When you find out how they talk about what they're truly passionate, you can see they've got energy and that kind of determination. And it's like, okay, great. And then how does SEO or digital marketing feed into that passion? If they're closely aligned, great. Yeah, you've got someone with high energy. And it's also ideas. Ideas are key. So getting them to present a couple of ideas or things that they really want to try out and do, and harnessing that and giving them the ability in their first, month or two to go ahead and put that idea into action. That's powerful. And you can see the benefit from that. And from those benefits, everyone wins. So, yeah.
Definitely. And is there anything, have you sort of incorporated or created like a 30, 60-day plan for any sort of new starts, or where does your sort of onboarding process look like?
So for this new hire, definitely we would have like, well, I suppose it's slightly different because juniors, yeah, it would be a more kind of structured, almost militant type induction plan, leaving no stone unturned to make sure that they've got everything they need to succeed. For a more kind of senior hire, it's almost letting them build their own plan. Okay, we're going to set you 1 or 2 goals. This is what we'd like you to achieve in the next 30, 60, 90 days. How are you going to get there? And also, what do you need from us to do that? So it's not just on them to get there. It's like, okay, you tell us what tech you need, what information you need from us, like tools. If the tool stack that we currently use at 1225 isn't to your liking, what tools do you want to bring into the business and why? So work on like business case scenario. If they present a business case for something, we'll definitely be open to it. And if we can do it and it seems sensible, we'll go away and we'll make that happen.
Brilliant. And just on sort of your background, I know I've been looking at you sort of throughout the week. You started off as well with your last company. You were with sort of a digital marketing account manager, and then you moved up into a more SEO focused role. How did that sort of come about? Because obviously one's a lot more client facing, then the other one's probably more focused on executing of the strategy and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I'll give you a quick kind of background, and the way that I started was in kind of sport. I went to uni and studied sports journalism, which was great fun. Get to talk about football and cricket all day, every day. And then gradually that just led me, because sport as an industry is very much like kind of, there's not enough people necessarily working behind the scenes at sporting clubs, and they've got to do it cheaply and quickly. That was a perfect proving ground for me and my marketing skills. It's like, oh, we need social media set up. No one in the business knows how to. Brendan, go away, just sort it out, work it out, get it up. And that's all I did. Everything I did marketing wise, because I was a generalist marketer, I learned myself, obviously through like blogs or webinars, whatever it may be, worked it up that way. And I'd worked at other agencies before the last one, just building up all different skills. Applied to be an account manager because that was my in to get into what is a very good agency, Aira. And from there, kind of in and out, like I was there for pretty much 5 years, and it was needs of the agency as well, because I was that all-rounder. Other people were more specialist. It would almost be like, oh, Brendan, do you mind just filling in and just helping on that side of things? Yeah, sure, that's great. And that's just how I kind of fell into kind of SEO, because again, with my background, going away, breaking stuff and fixing it and learning that way, that was my mindset there, and my mindset to this day. It was like, oh, okay, there's an issue there. Let me just jump on that, try and fix that and work it out. And that's why I ended up there. And from there, because I had the kind of skills of being able to talk to clients that maybe some of the other consultants or executives in the SEO team might not have had at that time, that kind of almost made me the natural kind of choice internally to go on and team lead and then become head of SEO as well. So broad base of skills, and I've just kind of harnessed the skills that I've learned, because skills in any area are important for an SEO. I would never say to an SEO consultant, like, I'll just specialize in this one area, because I think you can learn so much from other areas. Yeah, specialize, but definitely having wide range of skills helps.
Brilliant.
When you were at Aira, moving from the SEO team lead to the head of SEO, were there any particular shifts that you experienced that were kind of prominent that you could pinpoint to other SEOs that are maybe going through a similar transition process, and maybe any ways to help them ease that transition?
So in terms of what potentially changed in the role from team lead to head of, and kind of how other people going into that situation, how that I managed my transition. Yeah, again, great question. I think it was just most of it was just a case of, oh, you've been doing a lot of this already, so just keep doing that, just do it to a greater degree. I think there were some key, when you get to a head of position, or, you know, manage, like upper management, if you will, there's a lot of things that you might not have had experience of in the past. So for me there, it was potentially kind of like the more financials and the numbers side. I class myself SEO kind of, yeah, I can analyze data analytics, that's all great, no problem, but I'd always class myself as more like comfortable with words than I am with numbers. So the financial side, learning the spreadsheets, the P&Ls, and kind of understanding the reporting from that side, and the different levers you can pull, whether it's, you know, increasing sales, and if it's not increasing sales, how do you cut costs to try and match targets? So I had to do a lot of learning there, and it was kind of, I always try, before I ask questions, I will always go to, you know, sources and try and find out the answer myself. And if I can't, then I go to, you know, leaders, to managers, and kind of ask them questions and learn that way as well. And that's what kind of helped and aided the transition. But again, I go back to, you've got to be kind of self-driven to do that. Like, and yeah, it was a scary transition of being responsible for more and more people, and ultimately being responsible for the performance as well. But to make it work, you've almost got to make it work in any way possible, and that's what I did.
Did you ever experience any imposter syndrome during that period as well?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think you face imposter syndrome all the time throughout my whole career. It's like, oh my God, I don't know. You know, even chats with people, you know, especially nowadays, like I'm in my position, I've led one of the best SEO teams in the industry. But then you can go to a junior copywriter and they show you something and you don't know it, and you're like, oh my God, like how did I not know that? And B, like, how do you know that? Like, teach me more. But then I realized that's natural. And it's like, to be honest, things like doing this right now, talking to you on a live webinar, the podcast, 12 months ago, there's no chance. If you'd asked me 12 months ago, I'd be like, sorry, absolutely not doing that, just because I was like, you know, scared. But I've realized you've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's part of it. And I think that mindset just helps the imposter syndrome go away. And you realize when you go to conferences and you see people on stages talking about certain things, it's almost that validation of, oh, I know that, oh, I'm doing that already, and that helps as well.
Awesome. I love that.
And you mentioned before, Brendan, about how you were used to sort of break things and fix things to see what worked and what didn't. When we're sort of looking for candidates, and especially a lot of our clients, one of the main sort of selling points is if they have like a side project that they work on and sort of test out new strategies and stuff, to see what works before they move it on to their clients. And what sort of things were you looking for whenever you're hiring somebody, sort of compared to like a junior compared to like a senior? Is there sort of a set difference?
Again, no, I'd hire on the person first and the skills kind of second. But for me, that initiative, or I can't remember the chap's name, but he was on a podcast that I listened to recently, and he called them originals. It's people that can come in and identify a problem or an issue, and regardless of their role or responsibility, they go away, look at their problem and fix it, and say, oh, by the way, you guys have been talking about that for the past 6 months. I've just gone away and I've fixed it because I could see that was an issue for people. That's the kind of behavior. It helps oil the wheels of the agency, if you will, to have people like that. And that's where you get your 10Xs in essence. It's not being instructed to like, oh, this is your workload, do this work, and that's it. It's people that can think outside of the box and just get things done, essentially. So initiative for me is the biggest one, and I think that comes with the high energy and, you know, the way they talk. There's obviously certain stock answers that people can give in an interview, and it's almost like, be honest as well. Like if you're to just do a piece of work, that's fine, but almost like don't try and sell it more than that, just so you know where they stand and if they can be trusted, because in any agency there's diversity of people, of personalities, plays a huge role as well. So sometimes you don't need, like, for particular roles, you might not need a 10xer, if you will. You might need someone who's reliable, can get the work done, wants to be potentially left alone to just get on with it. Great. You've almost got your engine there as well. So there's room for everyone, and it's just being able to show that in the interview that gives you the best chance of being hired, in my opinion.
Definitely. I was going to ask, how long does it usually take to find a 10xer? And have you noticed like a change in the candidate market from when you were working in your last role to when you were looking for this role?
Yeah. It's difficult. It comes down to these little bits and pieces. It's these, I don't think you can ever put like a bullet point list down of, they need to be X, Y, Z, because you meet someone and it's like, oh wow, that person is just absolutely incredible. I've sat in hundreds of interviews in my career, and from really high, like team lead level kind of positions down to interns, apprentices, and so on. And it just strikes me, like, I'd say I can hand on heart say the best ever interview I ever had was with a girl who joined us as a junior copywriter. And it was fantastic. We literally chatted for an hour, but I don't think we actually asked any questions. We just chatted away. And you could tell from that conversation, yeah, this person's incredible. There's been a couple of times you sometimes just talking to people, you just know, yeah, they've got the X factor. They may not be right for this role, but they're right for something within the agency. And you're like, yeah, I know, even if I don't hire them right now, one day they're going to be working with us as well. So I think and it almost comes back to that very first question. I think it's that communication style, because communication for an SEO is highly important. You've got to be able to talk to your stakeholders internally and externally in terms of your clients. SEO isn't just about doing the work and like, yeah, this, that, and the other. You've actually got to convince people that the work you're doing is the right work, because almost no one knows at the time. And obviously contract renewals and elements like that, you've got to have that convincing pitch. So being able to communicate that in so many words is a key skill, in my opinion.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
I love that. I just wanted to move on to company culture, or the topic of company culture, because you're in quite an interesting position. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. Moving from Aira, which was you were managing a team, how was the company culture there? And were there things that maybe you took from that you want to implement into your own business and building your team moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So previously, the way I like to do things or try things, because like you say, like all managers, you haven't got experience to fall back on as a manager. When you first become a manager, you've just got to kind of find out what works, a bit like break something and fix it. That was my approach to management with teams, in terms of I'd say leadership styles are probably more democratic, in terms of I wanted the whole team, and we together built out I built out like a SEO team playbook, in essence, which was like our key ideals, what we're striving for, the behaviors that we like, what happens if certain things don't happen, and so on. And I think people bought into that, and it was the journey of going through that process and hitting certain milestones. By the end of it, our goal was to be one of the best SEO teams in the UK. And I can hand on heart comfortably say, yeah, we achieved that. We might not necessarily have achieved kind of awards, but yeah, the teams after I left, they won further awards as well. And then here with 1225, it's that I think we're both driven, like, we've obviously gone away to set our own company because we believe in what we can achieve, and what we can do. We want to be our kind of own leaders ourselves, and I think it's a different culture, or it will be a different culture. I think it's kind of more driven, but it's around ideas and kind of, trying new things, breaking things, and, not being scared of mistakes, because again, lots of people working in any walk of life, they're too scared to make mistakes. And I think people need to make mistakes to learn. And if you're too worried about making a mistake, I think that's when you start panicking and stressing out, and like, you can't focus on doing good work because you're too concerned about making mistakes. Whereas if you give people that freedom, you realize they stop making mistakes, or as many mistakes, and the world goes over, because everyone knows the dread. You go into a one-to-one meeting with your manager, you've made a mistake, and you're like terrified to say anything. I don't want that. Obviously we'll have a discussion about how things have happened and have a debrief on a mistake, but it's not going to be like, holding them over hot coals or something because they've made a mistake. It happens. Everyone makes mistakes. So we've just got to work out how best to kind of get over that.
I was reading a company's culture recently where they were saying you can forget the mistake but never forget the lesson, which I thought was such a nice little tagline for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
And Brendan, all going well. Touch wood that. What do you have, like a vision for where you guys want to be? I just, because I noticed on your profile you did PR as well. Is there sort of scope to build out like a digital PR team alongside the SEO team, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So
I don't want to give too much away, or
okay, yeah, fair. Again, my background, I've done that. That was more traditional kind of PR for a charity. I've literally worked over different industries and sectors as well. But yeah, we one of our kind of USPs, if you will, is the fact that we offer an all-in-one kind of SEO solution, because we feel like lots of agencies, they do SEO really well, but they do it in kind of almost three siloed teams. Like they'll have a technical team, a content team, and a digital PR team. We're trying to build one holistic kind of team that can operate and do all of that at the same time as well. So it's definitely an area, link building, that we want to offer in the future.
Brilliant. And when you're looking for people like that, are you looking for people who have had sort of that experience in digital PR and SEO, or is there going to be like sort of a process of training people across different departments?
Yeah, I think obviously we've got contacts as well, having worked in the industry for like 9 or 15 years. Whatever I don't know, I'd employ someone on their people skills, but obviously I'd go to my contacts, I'd go to the existing network. Harry the same. We get people in, discuss what we need, ideally, potentially for that first hire within that team, if we were setting that up, it would be someone that we know, just because it's quicker. But then after that, it's speaking to people with that experience of digital PR fully to understand what skills and what qualities those people need as well.
Brilliant. And I know you mentioned the importance of soft skills, which I couldn't agree more with. But for sort of maybe junior SEOs watching or listening at the minute, what sort of technical skills should they be focusing on in going into 2024?
So good. Again, I think video is going to play a massive part, and I think they've got to actually break out the box. I think SEO is changing. It's not, we all hear SEO is dead or this, that, and the other, but it's not. It's just changing. There's so many new platforms. We see the Google search these days. There's all sorts of different kind of forums, for instance, Reddit, LinkedIn, all of them, social media, TikToks. It's all getting massive. But there's different ways to capitalize on SEO. So I can't remember who said it, but I saw a LinkedIn post the other day that mentioned, SEO is changing from, getting your page on your website to rank to getting you ranking somewhere online. So it's shifting from your website to just the whole online domain. So getting junior SEOs to think more widely different kind of areas of organic search. That's why we kind of actually market ourselves as an organic search agency over an SEO agency, because I think that's where kind of search is going, especially with the more kind of AI coming into it, the search generative experience that Google's rolling out as well. It means that websites themselves aren't necessarily the focal point in future. It's just going to be your online presence. So that respect, and also I think just having an understanding of how to get a keyword kind of ranking, be that the 3 tenets, like knowing the basics and knowing how Google operates currently is a better bedrock and foundation than knowing kind of, I don't need someone that knows the kind of ins and outs of a hreflang tag necessarily. I need someone with that holistic kind of understanding of SEO and the areas and the tasks that might shift the needle for a business. Because again, if you don't know, there's resources online. Google's one of the best kind of resources in the world, but also network, go to these conferences, Brighton SEO and so on, and, meet people, because, oh, I know this person, that person is an expert in that area. I'll go and ask them. And likewise, if you become an expert in a certain area, you can offer your services. And I think that kind of side of the SEO community is very welcoming to people, and it does really help out. Just me the other day, I had a question on a website I was working on. So I emailed the head of the brand of websites, and they came back within kind of 3 or 4 hours and gave me the information I needed. They didn't need to do that, but they were just helping out, and it's really useful.
Brilliant. Yeah, I know that the LinkedIn post you mentioned, I think I saw one from, was it Ferry Kazoni, that the Reddit source actually outranked the original source on Google. So it is crazy at the minute, but
that's exactly it. Lots of people are saying the Google SERPs are a mess. I agree to a point, but also I'm starting to get my mindset, and I think that's what people need. You need to be open-minded with SEO. You need that mindset. It's like, oh, okay, so maybe this is different. This has changed from how it used to be, but how can we capitalize on that? What's the opportunity there for our clients to get them in front of more eyeballs? So if it is Reddit, do we pursue kind of a Reddit SEO strategy in terms of getting them ranking for those terms? That's just one way to capitalize. SEOs sometimes, especially more kind of, that's what I like about junior SEOs over kind of senior SEOs as well. They're more willing to try things out, whereas kind of seniors will, oh, I've got this bank of knowledge, and I've had to break myself out of this as well. I've got this bank of knowledge. It's worked for this client. It's worked for that client. I'll just do that again. Whereas juniors are like, oh, okay, right. What's the best way to do this? So that helps as well.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. No, couldn't agree more.
Such an interesting point to round up the webinar on. A lot to think about. But yeah, thank you so much, Brendan, for coming on. This half an hour flew by so quickly. And we really enjoyed the conversation so much today. And just absolutely loved your thoughts and your insight into the matters. Where can people find you at the moment if they'd like to chat more or just follow you?
Yeah, sure. So on LinkedIn, it's just linkedin.com/Brendan Gilbert SEO. Or alternatively, our website 1225.io, and all the details are on there.
Perfect. Awesome. And excited to also see your podcast coming soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Season 2.
But yeah, thank you so much. And we're wishing you all the best for the next week with the new SEO lead as well. And yeah, have a lovely weekend, and we'll chat soon.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for having me on.
Cheers, Brendan.
Cheers. Thank you.